From CBC News, New Brunswick, September the 10th, 2016. Tobic First Nation to build a house for the first time in 13 years. Tobic becomes the first First Nation in Atlantic Canada to get a Habitat home. Tobic First Nation is breaking ground on a new house for the first time in over a decade because a partnership exists with a charity group. We haven't built a house here in over 13 years because of Indigenous and Northern Affairs Canada's intervention policy, which does not allow for First Nation communities to build homes while they're in third-party management, said Chief Ross Purley. The Maliseet community partnered with Habitat for Humanity Fredericton to begin building one home. Purley said if all goes well, more can be expected to come to deal with the overcrowding. Purley said for a population of 2,200, there are 383 houses, and feels the community needs about 150 more houses. There are just some families that are large, and I know for one family in particular, they have about 12 occupants in their home, said Purley. There's another family that I can think of where there's 4 generations in the house. He said overcrowding leads to a host of community problems, especially with education and health. Purley also thinks proper housing could address missing and murdered Indigenous women. Young women are more inclined to leave their home due to overcrowding, where if they had a home that was efficient, they may stay longer, said Purley. Tobic and Habitat for Humanity signed a Memorandum of Understanding which will see the first Habitat house constructed on reserve land in Atlantic Canada. After a sod-turning event earlier in the week, Purley said the house and any built after it will be rent-to-own. The potential homeowners will make monthly payments on the house after paying it off. If we can't count on Indian Affairs, then we better start looking elsewhere, I guess, to satisfy our housing needs in the community, said Purley. CBC News, New Brunswick, by Catherine Harrop, December 16, 2016. First house built in Tobic in 13 years is now well underway. The house is built as a partnership between the First Nation community and Habitat for Humanity. When Amanda Moulton and Phil Muckler climbed the ladder to their front door with their 2 children, someone yelled out, "Welcome to your new home," and Amanda let out a hoot. It is still a ladder to their 3-bedroom bungalow, and the walls weren't finished, but it's well on its way to being the first Habitat for Humanity house built on a First Nations community in Eastern Canada. The Tobic First Nation and Habitat for Humanity Fredericton said they'd been talking about it for 2 years, but it finally came together 6 months ago. This is the first house built by Habitat for Humanity in partnership with a First Nation in Eastern Canada. And secondly, this is the first home, that's been built on the Tobic First Nation for 13 years, said Habitat's Fredericton's CEO Perry Kendall. So it's certainly significant for the local community, and the partnership has been absolutely fantastic. The home is unique for Tobic First Nation. Tobic has been under third-party management for over a decade. Councillor Edwin Bernard said this means no new band houses are financed. He said seeing this house go up was everything for us to show people that they can have a future. Habitat for Humanity homes must be owned by a family, but the majority of housing on First Nations are band-owned, Kendall said. Chief Ross Purley wants more homes owned by individuals and paid for by individuals. The current chief wants to see more people have assets they can pass on to their family, and having that pride of ownership of having a home of their own, said Kendall. The family was told they were picked for the house on Wednesday night. Moulton and Muckler admit the gesture was wonderful but difficult at the same time when you're in a small community with several people in need. When you get that call, you're so happy to get the call, but you feel bad for the other families that needed a house, said Muckler. Bernard said the Habitat selection process was the fairest possible. There were no names on the list. When they put the people down that asked for the houses, they were nameless. so it was only their situation. I thought that was the most fair way, said Bernard. 8-year-old Colton and his 3-year-old sister Maya squatted in one of the bedrooms looking at flooring samples. Colton wants John Deere green and yellow walls in his bedroom. He also understood that part of the deal was he had to help paint. He solemnly nods yes to the task. Maya picked pink for her room. The Habitat for Humanity method is to finance the house through a combination of fundraising, some donated products, materials, and labor. Then the family purchases the home and pays back the mortgage over the next 15 years. There's no down payment and 0% interest. They must put 500 hours of sweat equity into it as well. Bernard likes that model. It's a good thing. We shouldn't be scared to take responsibility for ourselves. It's good that government helps us at times, but there's times when some of us do have jobs where we should be able to contribute for ourselves. And while you're contributing, that allows a person more needy to have the government help, said Bernard. The majority of workers are from the community, including the Red Seal carpenter. Perry Kendall says Habitat is going to build another house in the community this spring. They are currently in discussions with another First Nations community.
This is the first house built by Habitat for Humanity in partnership with a First Nation in Eastern Canada. You kind of feel bad for, the other families that needed a house.